Necromancy is one of the most messed up things in World of Warcraft. It can raise people back to life, forcing you to fight your friends, family members, or that one dude that spams anal nonstop in trade chat, which in that case could be a win-win. However, we all know that the Undead Scourge is notorious for raising people into undeath. What most people do not realize, however, is how the actual process of becoming an undead works. In-game, we don't see too many detailed accounts or examples of characters being stripped away from the piece of nothingness that is death. Perhaps only a handful of examples, but in the novels, we can see a couple detailed accounts of how raising a person into undead servitude actually works, especially if you are forcing the individual into your service or if the individual is outright just very difficult to convert, being that they have an iron will or have a connection so strong with things such as the light. The first account that I'm going to cover is in Ulduar. In Ulduar, as we fight Yogg-Saron, we see a version of the Lich King torturing someone. This someone is High Lord Bolvar Fordragon, who fell at Angrathar the Wrathgate, but whose body was taken by the Scourge. Now, the status of Bolvar at this time is kind of a jumble after his fall at the Wrathgate. Some sources state that before the poison took his last breath, the Red Dragons breathed cleansing fire upon the battlefield, scarring Bolvar's body, but keeping him between some sort of state of limbo between life and death. While Tyrion just broadly states in Icecrown Citadel that through the light all things are possible and that Bolvar lives for now. What we do know for certain is that regardless if he was 100% alive or 100% dead at this time, he was captured by the Scourge and tortured endlessly by the Lich King, who was unable to break his will and transform him into a Death Knight. Or perhaps he would have broken it with time, we just stopped him before he could do just that. A more detailed account on how exactly the Scourge torture you in this state of limbo between life and death in order to convert you into an enslaved minion is the account from the comic Ashbringer. In this comic, Renault, Alexandros Mograin's asshole of a son, if you can even call him a son, tricks Alexandros into going to Stratholme, telling him that Darien needed his help. However, this was a lie that got Alexandros ambushed by legions of undead soldiers, all of whom, however, fell by the hands of the mighty paladin. However, while his guard was down, Renault picked up the Ashbringer and stabbed his father with the blade, corrupting it and ending his father's life. After this, Kel'Thuzad recovers Alexandros' corpse and raises him into undeath. However, even though he is risen into undeath, his will is still his own. To break him, Kel'Thuzad begins flooding Alexandros with dreams of his wife who died during complications regarding Darien's birth. But instead of the loving wife that he knew, in his dreaming state, she was hateful and evil. When Kel'Thuzad's voice drifted into the dreaming state, he asked Alexandros who he loved. Alexandros stated that he loved Elena, his wife. However, she responded by saying that love is for children. It is a myth, a fairy tale, and anyone who believes it is a damn fool. She also calls Darien filth and blames her death completely on Darien, which is something she would never do in life. This is a dream manipulated by Kel'Thuzad to break Alexandros. Kel'Thuzad once again asks, "Who do you love?" To which Alexandros replies by saying, "My son, Darien." At that instant, however, hands reach up to Alexandros and grab Darien's infant body, pulling him into the river. The dream then fades into Stratholme, where he was betrayed by Renault. Again, the Lich asks, "Who do you love?" To which Alexandros says, "I loved you, Renault." The image of Renault then begins to say how he hated Alexandros, which I guess is pretty accurate. Looks like Kel'Thuzad didn't really have to pull any strings with this one, and then the dream fades for good. Alexandros is brought back to the real world where he's tied and chained up and being mocked and tortured by Kel'Thuzad. The Lich, after torturing Alexandros with so many false visions, sees that the paladin's will is breaking, unable to tell truth from lie. Kel'Thuzad once more asks, "Who do you love?" To which Alexandros replies, "No one." "Who loves you?" "No one." With his former self completely broken into this mindless husk that is a servant of the Scourge, Kel'Thuzad's work is complete. Alexandros Mograin is no longer a paladin of the light, but now a champion of undeath, the leader of the Four Horsemen. Kel'Thuzad then says that Alexandros has lasted longer than any soldier raised into undeath before him, but Kel'Thuzad did not know that in the future, one person would be able to withstand that torture even longer than Alexandros had. Kel'Thuzad did not know of High Lord Bolvar Fordragon, and he had no idea of how strong the connection to the light that Bolvar had. While we were jousting and doing Argent tournament dailies with our peon slaves, Bolvar was battling every second of every day with false visions and physical torture, attempts by the Lich King himself to break the Paladin's iron will. This is one of the ways in which the Scourge raises you into undeath. They torture you physically and mentally until your will breaks and you become the very thing that you were fighting when you were still alive. However, there is still another way in which the undead force you into servitude, and this other way was done unto Sylvanas and described in the novel Arthas. However, that is a video for another time. Once again guys, if you did enjoy the video, make sure you hit the notification bell next to the sub button so you can stay caught up with the channel. And once again guys, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you all later.